Hello and welcome back to Ensuring Success. This is our last session of the day and it's going to be a blockbuster. So today's session to end the day is AI, blockchain, machine learning, what you and your clients need to know. So you are going to come away from this session with a new vocabulary and a new understanding of what those words mean. So first of all, thank you all for coming. I'm Gail Perry, Editor-in-Chief of CPA Practice Advisor magazine, and this is Ensuring Success. We would not be here but for our sponsors who make this event possible. And so with that, I would like to tell you briefly who our sponsors are this year, and they are ADP and Ace Cloud Hosting, CPA Charge, Avalara, BotKeeper, Comply Right, Core Pay One, CoreV, CPA.com, eFile4Biz, Intuit, QX Global Group, Right Networks, Safe Send Returns, Sage, Suralink, TaxFile, Vic AI, Wolters Kluwer, and Xero. And in particular, we would like to thank BotKeeper, who is sponsoring this session. All of our sponsors make this event possible and allow us to offer CPE for you at no charge for 2 days. I'd like to give you just a little bit of housekeeping before we get started on this session. First, CPE credit, if you're planning on collecting it, you will see us post 3 codes at the bottom of the screen at 3 different times during the session. Each time we post a code, you need to write it down. That is our evidence that you attended the session. So by the end of this session, you will have 3 3-digit codes. And then tomorrow, or whenever you finish the conference, or whenever you're ready to get your CPE credit, you'll go to the ensuringsuccess.com website, click the Get CPE option at the top of the screen, and enter the codes for all the sessions you attended at Ensuring Success, and then you can download your CPE certificates. I will also want to remind you that you will be receiving an email from us within the next week from CPA Practice Advisor that we're calling a digital tote bag. And that digital tote bag will include offers and information from all of our sponsors for this event. So keep an eye out for that. With that, one other thing I'd like to mention is that you can reach us during this session by scrolling down on your screen under the video window. There's an option to click a button to ask a question. So if you have any questions about how this event is running or any technical questions, if you have any questions for our speakers, feel free to click there and ask your question, and we'll get back to you. Right now, I'd like to introduce our speakers for this session. Right next to me is Stein Smith, followed by Byron Patrick and David Cieslak, and my co-moderator, Alexander DeFelice. So I'd like you each to give just a brief introduction to who you are. We'll start with
Absolutely. Afternoon to everybody out there. I'm Stein Smith. I'm the faculty at Lehman College, and I'm also on the board of 3 different entities out there in the blockchain crypto asset space. I do a lot of writing, research, podcasts, conferences, panels, and all of that stuff. So I'm really amped to be here. Byron?
Yes, Byron Patrick. I'm the general manager at BotKeeper, long-time CPA, member of the accounting industry, working here supporting BotKeeper. We are an automated accounting engine for accounting firms, helping to support the growth of their practices.
And I'm David Cieslak, the Chief Cloud Officer for RKL eSolutions. And I do a lot of speaking each year on the latest technology trends. And so AI, blockchain, very, very high on that list of hot topics.
And I'm Alexandra DeFelice, Director of Marketing and Business Development for Pain and Fears in Orange County, California. And I am your co-moderator with Gail Perry today.
All right, thank you all. So let's start with just a general question, because I know most people probably know all about these topics, but just in case there are some people who have some questions, AI, blockchain, machine learning, and there are other terms we could throw out there too that weren't even part of our vocabulary in a very short while back. What is it of all this new, I guess we could call it new technology, of these new things that people are talking about, what's most important that people know right now to help their clients? You probably all three have different answers. So I get
Not
that.
all at once. So I would say, from an AI perspective, really artificial intelligence it's making its way into virtually all the applications we're working with, both personally as well as professionally. And so, and expect that process to continue. It's helping us become more efficient, more effective. And I always like to describe that as working smarter, better every day. And so AI is really, helping us in that regard. And we're happy to drill down on some specific ideas, some specific topics. And by the way, that's really going to require cloud-based versions of products, so it requires a connection to the internet to make all that magic happen. In the case of blockchain, that's largely synonymous with crypto. And again, happy to but believe me, blockchain is far more than crypto, but we'll have a chance to kind of dig in on that a little bit too as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think Dave did an excellent job kind of summarizing exactly where it's at. I think the hope for today is that a lot of people come away feeling a little more comfortable with the topic, maybe not quite as intimidated as you might be if you have heard bits and bytes, but it's a little bit overwhelming. So hopefully we can kind of help, relieve some of that concern.
Yeah, and then to echo on that, Byron, right? The in terms of blockchain and crypto, metaverse, bots, AI, deep learning, deep fakes, they're all buzzwords and they're all hot topics, but actually all of them are much closer to our clients and our own firms right now, right, than the headlines otherwise would indicate, right? They are here right now and are actually being tangibly used right now by firms in all kinds of industries.
Sure.
And I think that's kind of the most exciting part of all this, is because when we first started hearing these terms, they were really foreign in that they weren't really even being used in general society. Mm-hmm. It was just, we'd heard of them and people were talking about them, but how did they relate to us? So, David, I'm going to start with something you said, that AI is showing up in almost everything. Mm-hmm. Can we have an example of that?
Sure. I mean, it's showing up in consumer products when you think about, and I got to be careful, what names I mention here, but Alexa and Siri and, all the, I call that all the women.
Your phone sure
I would call that all the women in my life. So you think about just voice, prompted assistance. And so in devices at home, all that automation, that's an example of AI. It's doing what's called natural language interpretation, and translating your voice to instructions and back again, and setting alarms and showing recipe. So consumer ways, routing you to the office and helping you navigate around traffic. Spam filtering, another perfect. So all sorts of products where AI is kind of baked into that. But that's really making its way also into business process as well. So when we think about automating accounts payable, procure to pay, we think about continuous auditing and helping close the month. It's showing up more and more and saying, another perfect example, something called outlier detection, where it's looking at your data entry and saying, I'm looking at that looks a little strange. You may want to take a closer look. So what we have come to know kind of personally is now making its way into business applications, and it's helping improve the quality of what goes in and ultimately what comes back out.
So we actually want to see, we had to pick one, we're picking one or two to focus on and see where the audience is. So we're going to ask the audience specifically about blockchain. We're asking them, are you leveraging blockchain within your business or working with clients who are? And the options are, we're leveraging it within our firm, we're helping clients with their tax prep, or we're helping clients with their audit. So let's see what we get after we have a little bit more discussion.
Okay. And let's go to the next topic here, which was blockchain in the order of the title of this session. In a nutshell, what do accountants need to know about blockchain?
Oh, geez. All right. So, so I have the top 18 items right here. No, but probably the top 2 or 3 things that I would say that anybody working in corporate accounting, public accounting, audit, tax, all the rest has to understand is that, one, blockchain is not an accounting system, right? It's a tool to help augment our current processes, and it's being embedded into numerous products and services right now. Currently, but in and of itself, all that blockchain is, it's a traceable and transparent record of transactions that already happened, right? Okay, great. So what? But in the terms of it of being used for audits, obviously has huge impacts, and it already is being used right now. Taxes already has a huge impact, and to try to piggyback on sort of the overlap between blockchain and crypto. Obviously, both of these topics are two separate topics, but the whole world of online payments, virtual payments is already here, right? And so as more and more information and data and other content actually is stored in an online-based platform or platforms, there has to be a tool in place to help make sure that all of that information is safe and able to be accessed. And so all of that means that it's here and it is being used, and it has a lot more applications outside of only payments.
Okay, and we will get into that in a little more depth in a little bit. Let's also address the term of machine learning. I'm going to throw that to Byron. Isn't machine learning just macros?
That's it. It's just a whole bunch of rules.
That's what I thought,
Absolutely. So machine learning is a branch of artificial intelligence, as Dave talked about. And, machine learning is about, just imagine an accountant's example. If you could remember every transaction in the general ledger and then recall that information every time you saw another similar transaction. That's effectively what machine learning does. So it will remember an entire data set, and then it will apply its understanding of that data set to things. So, this applies very much to accounting. This can apply to, image recognition and all types of different examples of things. Us at BotKeeper, we use it for transaction coding. Transaction categorization. It's a great place where there's consistent data sets that we can use the information to make decisions and kind of determine confidence levels of the information we have and what we can predict from them.
So the thing I would tell you about machine learning is it requires data. And so really, if you think about bringing the computer into the mix, saying, look at this data, help me understand what's going on here, maybe make some predictions, maybe even be prescriptive, give me some recommendations, but it needs data. So oftentimes one of the terms that gets pulled into the conversation as well is big data. And all that is just your database. And so we're going to look at that data, we're going to look for patterns, we're going to look for something that's potentially actionable, report that back. And so machine learning is really leaning on, relying on or leaning into the machine and saying, help me, kind of understand what it is I'm looking at and help me, achieve a better outcome, whether it's reporting, whether it's, next action, but it's really kind of bringing the computer resources to bear against that big data, that database set.
I would just add there that obviously, right, these items here, blockchain, AI, ML, aren't operating in a bubble, right? They're all, evolving, collaborating, and all have to work hand in hand, right? Because in order to have those insights and to have those processes become more automated and better overall, they have to have that high quality set of underlying data in the first place.
Okay, we're going to put the first CPE code for this session on the screen right now, so be sure to write this down. If you're claiming CPE for this session, you will need 3 of these codes. This is the first one that you need.
Okay, and while you're doing that, I realized that I didn't put not applicable or what the heck is blockchain as an option, but of the people that responded, 74% said we're helping with tax prep. 19% said we're leveraging it within our firm, and 5% helping with audits.
Interesting.
All right, well, let's go there. Let's talk about how blockchain is changing the accounting practice. And if we have that number doing tax prep and being concerned about blockchain or cryptos in tax prep.
If you would, let me just kind of, I want to make sure, because I think you did a real good job of kind of setting it up. We think of blockchain as a database. And it really is a database in the cloud. It's redundant. And so it is, but it really the best way to just consider it is much like we'd consider an Access database, a SQL Server database. It just happens to be out in the cloud, and there's multiple copies of that. From there, what do we want to store in that database? And I think crypto is oftentimes kind of right where we go when we talk about blockchain. And I said earlier,
it's kind of the first thing we heard about that used
correct.
blockchain.
It did a great job of doing the introducing the use case, and it really kind of got us all at least going that direction. But it's just one application, so absolutely want to kind of talk about crypto and the role of in how that's really kind of for many people the first touch point. But ultimately, as we think about blockchain on a broader perspective, make sure that you don't sell it short, and we think about other database applications, much like we would traditional applications, and that's got some potential there as well. So.
Awesome point there, David, right? Because blockchain can be used for healthcare records, food, transportation, title records, vaccine records, obviously a ultra hot topic right now. So yeah, I mean so the true upside of blockchain isn't really just taxes and crypto, although I'm personally surprised that a high percentage of the folks who answered are currently using it for taxes. So I'd be more interested into how is that actually working, or is it more just having clients who are doing business in Bitcoin and it's sort of backdooring into blockchain, right?
Well, and I imagine we all attend probably enough cocktail parties, and you get into these conversations about crypto, and I'm all in on crypto, and I think that's the future. And I just literally listen to a lot of that and go, wow, okay. And so understanding some of the challenges, but some of the opportunity. And I imagine you guys are hearing this as well.
Absolutely. I mean, right, because Bitcoin sort of was the first taste, right? It was the first introduction to crypto, but it's a huge ecosystem out there right now. We have DeFi, we got NFTs, metaverse. There's this whole world out there being built out on a underlying blockchain platform, far outside of just holding Bitcoin and then praying for the best, right? Right. That there are firms out there, products, services, entire businesses being built on a blockchain that actually need to be paid for in coins and tokens. So it's really interesting.
So how are accounting firms leveraging the blockchain and dealing with clients who are in business using blockchain technology?
I would say the first access point is typically crypto and accounting for crypto in connection with a tax return. I think more and more we're going to see crypto showing up transactionally, much like we pay somebody by Venmo. Or other apps, we're going to find some integration starting to show up within our actual transactional systems. And so again, still from a monetary perspective, so we've got all sorts of concerns / challenges as it relates to any kind of decentralized finance and what is, there's over 1,700 cryptos right now. And so which one, but we all know about Bitcoin and we know about Ethereum. So out of 1,700, we tend to tee up on 2, 3, 4, 5 of them. But literally, there's more coming out every day, and so you're saying, well, which one's the best? But the reality is, there's no one of them right now that really is, I would say, ready for prime time in the sense that it's ready to become a real transactional, operational, essentially, currency, cryptocurrency. That would be my suggestion. But we will start to see some integration. I mean, even the Venmo app today, I think, allows you to do some stuff.
Yeah, we have Cash App, Venmo, Visa, MasterCard, PayPal now all have that option, right, to pay with Bitcoin and other crypto assets, further highlighting sort of the need of having that optionality to then analyze those transactions and to process them and to ultimately try to learn from them going forward. Right.
So that was actually another poll question that you guys were anxious.
Just already answered.
Oh, Jill, look at that. We are cooking with gas here, fellas.
We wanted to know whether our audience themselves accepts crypto for payment. So simple yes, no, or no, but we're considering it. So that'll be our next question, and we'll see.
Good question. I like it.
Look at that. We are a sharp panel here, fellas.
Absolutely.
So what about how that?
Yeah.
Can we talk a little bit about then the tax planning related to that and how to talk to your clients who are suddenly actually making money with Bitcoin and how what are their reporting responsibilities? When do you need to? What kind of talking points do you need to share with them?
I can't answer that question.
You can't or you will. So the reality is, it's like anything else. If we're trading in crypto, we're ultimately realizing gains or losses. I mean, it's reportable. So that now should be standard questions. As a part of a tax preparation process, they should be asking what not just talk to me about interest and dividends, but talk to me about crypto and crypto activity, because that's now something that's reportable for purposes of your tax return. So that's how it integrates typically, within a tax prep process.
Oh yeah, no, and so the best way that I've found and that I've seen trying to talk to clients about it, right? Because on the one hand, there are folks making money in crypto, but those individuals making money in crypto don't usually have the breadth of market or tax expertise, right? Right. That if I have somebody who's 22 years old, bought some Bored Ape NFT back in June, and it went up to $200,000 Dogecoin, right? Great, so they have money, but they aren't educated.
Thinking about
exactly
and taxes.
And the biggest issue that I still see right now even, is this sort of idea that, well, it's crypto, so it's not taxable, right? Because it's cryptocurrency, and so it's gamification. Gamification of this whole thing, Robin Hood and all the rest, right? And so the most critical thing that I found is that you have to ask, right? You have to ask, and you have to have the actual data, right? The records, the transactions, out of the Coinbases or the Krakens, Celsiuses. You have to have those records.
Coin wallets.
Yeah, coin wallets, and you have to be able to then have that conversation with your clients to then tell them, like, hey, listen, are you actively trading? Are you buying stuff with crypto? Are you buying ETH and then having that ETH to go buy other products and services? All of those are actual taxable items.
So let me open this can of worms, which is, should accountants be dabbling in this themselves so that they can know what the experience is like, so that they're speaking from experience versus just kind of?
I would say so, yes, absolutely, 100%. Don't go all in. All right, don't go all in, but you absolutely have to dabble, right? Have some hands-on, practical sort of actual knowledge of how it works, how it actually processes through, and then ultimately what type of data is actually output from that platform to you.
Okay.
And I'll refine that just a little bit and just say,
go ahead.
Don't put anything into crypto that you're not in a position to lose.
Yeah.
It might be an even more maybe aggressive way to say it. And these are
Don't mortgage the house. Is that what you're saying?
That would be clearly a good result out of that. Or you could go there.
Right.
But no, it's one of those things where you're saying, look, don't put everything in a crypto, because it's so volatile. It's not based. It's a non-fiat based currency, meaning there's no government backing it up. Unless it's collateralized in some fashion. There's no gold standard. The dollar's not backing it up. Then no one's going to come to your rescue if that thing drops to zero in value, and that could happen on a lark. They go up, seemingly without rhyme or reason. They can come down the same way. So do some to understand it as a mechanism, but don't. I think don't go all in, or don't mortgage the house and say I'm going to make my fortune that way, because the reality is it's really still early days, and because there's so little backing it up, it's very volatile.
You raised an excellent point there, Dave, right? That yes, absolutely right. Bitcoin, Litecoin are untethered to anything, right? But there is this whole other asset class of these privately issued coins and tokens that actually are issued and governed by private corporations, and that are backed on a one-to-one basis by the US dollar, by the euro, by gold. So on the one hand, that is going to hopefully sort of make it easier and sort of less risky, right, to have transactions actually happening in crypto. But it's also critical to keep in mind that all of those transactions, be it fiat-backed or not, still have the same tax impact.
Yep.
So with that being said, what do you guys want to guess? What percentage of the audience say they accept crypto for payment?
Oh, man.
It's got to be less than 10%.
I'm going to go with 20%.
I'm going with 5%.
2.
Wow.
Accept crypto.
Wait, so that's so interesting.
But 5% said they're considering it,
Okay.
and 92% flat out no.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
Okay, so when we talk about blockchain, AI, machine learning, it's all things that we can't see. And I think that's a lot of the confusion or the difficulty, especially accountants have with it, because we're concrete thinkers, and we grew up, even younger accountants grew up with knowing what a physical general ledger looks like, knowing right and left, debit, credit, the whole visibility of accounting. And none of this is visible. And so we're trying to bring this into the accounting space to help accountants with their jobs and help them help their clients. But I think what's necessary for our profession is steps. Where do accountants start to understand these pieces of things that are working their way into our general conversation and into the financial marketplace without currently kind of a really good sound lack of understanding?
Yeah, and so, I think with blockchain, absolutely, it's like vapor. It exists somewhere in the ether. With artificial intelligence, machine learning, you can think about the output is usually what we become the constituents of. So if you look at some of the tools, there's tools that exist, for example, if you do a lot of accounting or bookkeeping, to look at the general ledger and provide information that will tell you maybe some of the anomalies that could exist or questions that you may have. Look at things, and these are all the outputs or the reports of that machine learning. There's also, for example, a tool that we use in our sales organization, and this exists in a lot of different ways, that will record meetings, analyze the data, and it can provide you information such as, if the account executive pauses for 2.5 seconds after making the proposal, the win rate goes up 15%. And that's based on analyzing the words and the natural language processing, doing the analytics, and providing that type of coaching output. Even PowerPoint now has a coach. You can actually just practice, it will record you, and it will provide you all types of coaching feedback based on artificial intelligence.
So data, big data, analyze, use the machine to analyze, recommend, prescribe, potential next actions. And so think of AI as a great way to say, what do I do next? I think that's a good way to maybe even just kind of frame that.
And what do I do with this data that can make me a superstar?
Yeah, absolutely.
But you already are a superstar.
That's the Gail Perry algorithm.
Yeah.
There you go. All right, we're going to pause for just a moment for a word from our sponsor, BotKeeper, who is sponsoring this session. When we return, we'll have the second CPE code for this session, so stick around.
Over the past few years, the idea of machine learning has become something we hear a lot about. And frankly, it's all over the place in our day-to-day lives. Whether we're using virtual personal assistants like Google Home, looking at our phone for traffic predictions, getting the people you may know alerts from Facebook, or just doing a Google search, the ML experience is becoming more common for everyone. But for something that's already ingrained in our lives, what do we really know about it? Are you making the rules for the machine? Or is your data learning the rules for you? Can we actually see machine learning working somewhere? And what the heck does that even look like? I'm Austin from the BotKeeper team, and today we're going to dive into the concept of machine learning and how we're leveraging it for bookkeeping automation here at BotKeeper. Along the way, we'll get to see just how powerful machine learning can be at deriving meaning from millions of data points and yielding valuable insights. We see machine learning all around us in the products we use today. However, it isn't always apparent that machine learning is behind it all. Generally, ML can be a pretty staggering concept for most folks, but those working within the tech space are getting a first-hand experience as to just how vital it is. Without machine learning, there's a lot that wouldn't be possible, such as face recognition, email spam filtering, cybersecurity, social media experiences, and more. And this is only demonstrating a few of its capabilities. Realistically, the value of machine learning is just beginning to manifest itself, and this will only continue to grow over the years to come. To learn more about machine learning in the accounting space, visit botkeeper.com.
We are back, and at the bottom of your screen, you will see the second CPE code for this session, so be sure to write this one down. There will be one more before we finish up today. So with that, you were going to go forward with.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have a question for Byron. We've had this thing for several years with the machines are going to take over our lives, right? And you were sharing a story the other day. I think it was a landscaper friend, and he's like, I want to shoot all the robots because they're going to take my job. What do you think about this? Is this going to happen, or are people's jobs just going to change? What's the future? Tell us the future.
So he wasn't going to shoot him. He was going to crush him.
Oh, okay.
And then he was going to go back in time and destroy AI. But and the thing is AI is here. I mean, it's in everything we touch. It's in everything we do. I mean, even Excel now has predictive AI that's built into it, which is pretty damn convenient. The whole point is, and Gail brought this up kind of in the intro, is it's time to embrace it and really kind of superpower yourself. There's most of the things that AI is going to do are the things that you don't want to do anyway. Things that maybe take a whole lot more effort to get there that you can kind of shortcut because these tools exist. So I think it's incredibly important that people should not be scared of, should not fear the AI. You can fight it all you want. You're going to lose that battle. It's here. It's coming. I mean, we're beyond the trough, and AI is taking off. So you need to embrace it and really look for the opportunities. But again, back to what we were saying, don't be overwhelmed. There's all these little places where you can apply it that are really easy and tangible.
I think the word I'm hearing, or I think the concern maybe I'm hearing, is about responsible AI. And I know Hollywood loves to, very sensational, and the robots are coming, and even if I personally could use one to do my lawn. But I look at all of that, and I'm saying, what does responsible AI look like? And I think people, because it's unknown, there's legitimate concerns. There's actually a movie. You can go out to just do a web search for "Do You Trust This Computer?" And they've got the likes of Elon Musk and a kind of a Berkeley physicist in there. They've got a surgeon from a hospital who does particularly intricate surgeries from Cedars-Sinai, and so. Each of them talks about, what's possible with AI, but they also talk and the benefits that come from it, but then bring, the whole notion of responsibility back into it. One of the perfect examples the surgeon talks about is, if you're able to take, and think about, I remove, appendix. That's my specialty, is I'm the appendix removal person. And so, if you've got AI observing every single, appendix procedure, and then say, great, now let's let a machine take over something, like the Da Vinci, computerized, and, now it's going to go in and do. It has all that knowledge of all the appendix procedures that, have been programmed into it, and not just from that one doctor, but from every appendix process that's ever. So at some point, it's not crazy to envision that we will have a better outcome with an automated approach to some of these very specific things than even the doctor's own hands. So they walk through some of those use cases, very intriguing. And again, I know Hollywood sci-fi loves to get it all worked into a frenzy, but I think there's a lot of potential with responsible AI for some extraordinary outcomes.
Yeah, and building on the responsible AI, right? That's where we're having all the conversations right now about Facebook. So, Social Dilemma and Tristan Harris, and you have algorithms, AI, that is driving our Facebook feeds, our Twitter feeds, our Instagram feeds. And, the algorithm can be programmed to do good. And the good, in their case, is just creating interaction. So the algorithm is creating likes, engagement. It's doing exactly what it's supposed to be doing. But is that good for society? So, responsible AI certainly.
Social Dilemma is another good movie.
Social Dilemma. I think everything that Tristan Harris is doing right now to just have this conversation, really just bring people's attention to it. Again, you shouldn't be. It's not evil if you understand it.
Well, and I think that's something. I think, David, you said this. You had mentioned that movie during a prior conversation we had, and I think you said, it scares the heck out of you, but then it creates opportunities for accountants too. And so how can they get started if they want to say, I can capitalize on this?
Well, and so that you think about where good applications are born. You think about BotKeeper. You think about other applications. It starts with an idea, and you say, what are the tools that I can bring to bear to bring that idea to fruition. And AI is available as a service. So there is AI as a service. So all the major Google, Microsoft, AW or Amazon, all have a subscription-based AI, product/service. And so again, if you've got an extraordinary idea and saying, I've got this brilliant idea, I'd love to bring AI into the mix and maybe see if I can develop something and bring that to market. There are literally, tools out there. So it's educate yourself, and then from there, start dabbling.
Yeah, I mean. And just as AI as a service, you have OCR, text as a service, where you can just, for accounts payable processing, AR matching, like there are all types of things where you can actually just go out and just subscribe to it and begin using it. And it's actually amazingly simple. I mean, if you can build a good Excel macro, you can probably get in there and start playing around.
Everything as a service, right?
Everything as a service. Absolutely. We can take that a lot of ways. We'll leave it.
Put a pin in that idea.
But yeah, put a pin in that for later.
So going back to dabbling, a question came in from the audience is, if he wants to start collecting crypto, where does he start? How does he do it?
So probably the top maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 things that I would say is, one, what crypto are you actually going to take, right? Bitcoin or
Hold on,
other
get
crypto?
your pens, because you're going to ask us for these
down,
numbers again.
All right, one. All right. No, so one, outline, right, sort of the first thing that I always try to advise is have a plan to take crypto, right? Because bringing crypto into your firm is a still complicated process, right? So one, what crypto is it? Bitcoin or others? Two, after actually having that come in, are you going to hold it? How? In a hot wallet, a online web-based portal to access that crypto, which is easier to access, easier to hack, or a offline cold wallet, a hardware piece that's basically customized to hold that data for you. And then after that, how are the entries going to actually work inside your firm or inside your actual practice, right? Because now, by introducing crypto into your debits and credits, all of that is always going to create other questions, right? How do you value it? How do you track the valuation? And in terms of where it shows up on the balance sheet, on the income statement, where do you put that? Right? Because right now there aren't any gap-based answers for any of that, and so all of those questions are still open items. And so on the one hand, it's important to have that plan. And on the other hand, though, there are any number of firms out there, Gilded, BitPay, and a host of other firms out there whose whole business model is that, helping clients, helping firms take payments in crypto and to have it work inside their firm.
Awesome. Thank you.
As accountants, what can we, speaking on behalf of our audience, what can we look for in our practices that can be improved using tools like this? Where do we start saying, I want to do something better, I want to be more efficient, I want to make more money, or whatever it is we're trying to do? How can I look at those processes and say, I need to bring this in that will help? I mean, how's that connection made?
I'll start by saying just, some of it's going to be, I'll call it reactive, in the sense that if we've migrated some of our data and applications to cloud-based services, then the publishers are already kind of pushing AI into those solutions. So just by virtue of subscribing to, using some of the latest and greatest applications, AI, it's going to make its way into the that's, kind of, I'll call that the reactive, approach. A proactive approach is to say, take something like BotKeeper and say, look, let's take a business process within the organization, and really, it's a pain point for us. It's a high effort, low value task. How can I leverage automation to actually work smarter, better? And so, that's a proactive approach to a tool like that. And then I think we've already kind of talked to the crypto piece of that. And then it's just a matter of saying, what does it look like to, kind of incorporate, payments? It's typically one of the first ways, again, to get introduced to some of this in the practice.
Yeah, well said. Building on that, on the proactive side of it, I encourage everybody, look to where the log jams exist in your organization. Where are the bottlenecks? These are the perfect places to apply some sort of technology. And, that's absolutely where BotKeeper fits in. The logjam is transaction coding. It's a pain in the ass. Or whether it's write-up for tax time. The grocery bag clients with bank and credit card statements. That's a logjam. These are things, and frankly, it's not just the logjam, but it's also the application of talent where you are underutilizing that talent. These are the places where automation and technology really fit in. It's definitely certainly where BotKeeper fits in. It's where GL reviews fit in. It's where AP processing fits in, things like Vic AI and such. And there are a lot of tools out there. You just begin to explore and read some articles, see some applications, find things that you can apply. I think there's even like check-in, check-out systems for offices that are leveraging AI.
Start with a process. Start with one process. Yeah. Familiarize yourself, and then say, land and expand. Let's build that out. Let's visit, and make that list. What are my challenges? How's it impacting the business? What does an ideal solution look like? Kind of use that framework to say, let's just lather, rinse, repeat. Let's just kind of take that cycle, keep running it, and address those high value, low value, high effort, low value, kind of endeavors that we do, and look to just get relief on each one of those and iterate. And then over time, you're going to say, wow, I've actually really helped solve a lot of really challenging problems in the organization.
And once you begin doing that, everybody in the organization starts thinking about it. Yep. It becomes a culture of looking for these opportunities.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, and after doing that, obviously, right, then you have time and headcount to actually try to build out new lines of revenue too, right? New high-value opportunities, right? Because you aren't wasting your time doing all this manual work that isn't adding any value to anybody, and so. Yep.
Okay, so can we have some practical examples?
Some of the practical examples. AP process automation is probably one of the first ones that, or at least that I, throughout my day job, that we talk to our customer base about. Think of it today. When we do our banking, virtually none of us anymore is sitting down with a checkbook and actually, if you are, don't raise your hand. But sitting down with a checkbook, writing out manual checks, stuffing them on envelopes, and taking them to the post office. We go to our banking site, we queue it up, we say pay this on this date, pay this amount on that date. Everything's electronic, and yet when it comes to a corporate environment, we're still got an AP department that's handling paper, that's still printing paper checks, still having somebody physically sign it and drop that in the mail. And you're going, that's just bonkers. I mean, why are we still there? And so AP automation to me is like low-hanging fruit from but that's a again, high effort, low value, something that absolutely should be automated today. And I'm not sure why we still are having some of this discussion.
Yeah, and so, during your conversations with your clients, right, do any of them have any answers for that, right? Because all of us have apps for everything. Apps for food, apps for transportation, apps for entertainment, apps for banking in our personal lives, and then everyone goes to work, and it's like we travel back in time to the 80s. I mean, are there any sort of themes with that? Because I struggle with that too.
You asked if there was any answers. Yes. No good answers. Okay. But other than they've traveled back to the 80s, the reality is it's the way they have always done it. And that to me is a challenge that as a profession we face, and even for all of us. I look at it and say, part of this is about the rate of change. And because of that, we're all feeling just challenged to keep up. So at some point, what I kind of recommend is, are we trying to re-engineer the business, or should we really kind of take out a clean sheet of paper and reimagine the business? And if you're going to find it almost easier to say, let me reimagine the business, and if I were to start today, here's what that would look like. Now, do I have a reasonable way to get from where I'm at today to that, or should I just stand that up as kind of a new aspect of the business and kind of move forward with that? So I de-escalate one as I escalate the other. And so rate of change is a real challenge, and it's a matter of, I've only got so much personnel, what's the brightest burning fire, and, how best to get there.
Yeah, and so, from a practical perspective, I mean, there's two examples, I think, within the accounting space that make a lot of sense. I mentioned one earlier is the GL review. There's tools like Zenit and Auto Review and a few others that will do that, automated review of your GL. Every transaction, and just look for weird things. It'll apply all the different rules of data and everything like that, and just flag things for you to zoom into. They might be fine, but it's a really easy way to look at thousands of transactions quickly. Take another example in the audit space. What MindBridge is doing with applying, data analytics, leveraging control points, and it's not just using it to help performing the audit, but think about using it to also price an audit. If you could actually apply get these insights of the GL when you are creating that proposal, you are going to have a much better success rate of creating a good proposal.
Learning, helping you with risk assessment, to come up with a better pricing and a better work product. And you're going to feel better as an auditor signing off on that and deliver a better product. We want to be more strategic.
That's right.
So again, how can we take that redundant and let the machine help, and we refocus our efforts on things that really bring more value to the customer?
So what kind of challenges occur when you start automating your processes in your practice?
People.
And done.
I like the way you didn't hesitate on that one.
I mean, it's change management, and that's been we've been in this tech space for plenty of years, and it's almost, if you go back to the days of paperless, the days of multiple monitors. I mean, all of these things, it's like change management and getting people to think differently and embrace things. I have so many conversations where the end of the conversation is the technology is the easy part. It's the human change that is hard.
Yeah, and I'm almost, I always look at it too, and I used to say, look, anyone who's still using an HP LaserJet 2, don't raise your hand. Pull
Easiest
the
driver.
Right, yeah. But I look at things like that and saying that's, in fact, in some respects, that's how technology does us a disservice, is it survives long past when we should be using it. So I'm saying, build in some hard end of life to some of this, because the newer versions of products, whether they be, the actual technology itself, the software, build in some hard end of life into that, because it forces you to say, you know what, I know there's some new functionality, there's some new productivity that's going to be available to me in newer versions of this. I need to make that move. Let's make that happen. And so turn the power switch off on the older stuff.
Yeah, and echoing on a earlier comment, Dave, right, that the whole pace of change is way faster now versus any other time in the past. And so having that plan or that process to be, all right, team, right, we now have this plan to phase in new tools, educate the people, train them on a continuous basis, right? Because I know that firsthand, trying to drop in new tools and processes on a Tuesday afternoon is always a uphill battle. So having that process to help phase in tools over time, right, and to educate people as they have to be educated is a real key thing.
Taking something both of you just said and kind of maybe putting it together. I remember years ago learning that Google had a situation, or basically it was part of their company, approach, is they would allow their staff, their team members to kind of brainstorm, and that was part of their paid job, as it were, to kind of think about, be creative, project, be imaginative, potential new products and services. Maybe it's time for us to say, engage the entire office. Let's have brainstorming sessions. Where are these opportunities? And it's not a side thing. It's a part of saying we all benefit when we all work smarter. Let's get everybody involved. You get buy-in, you're deliberate about it, and gosh knows the ROI is there. It's going to absolutely pay for itself. So, I think that does a nice job of saying engage the whole team.
I just came here from Digital CPA, and Pascal Finette did a session talking about culture of innovation, and he's phenomenal. And one of the things he asked the audience was, how much time is your organization spending on innovation? And it was actually funny. I'm 90% certain 90% of the room didn't understand the question.
It was a polling question.
It was because the average was like 30% of their time, and some people were saying it was 70% of their time. And I know that answer is not correct, like without a doubt. But to your point, I think have that like innovation brainstorming session, be deliberate, and create that culture of it. Because once people start thinking about exciting new ways to do things, you'll be surprised. And the final point I'll say on there is it's not a generational thing. I think people get stuck in, oh, the Gen Zs, they're so good with their phones, this is easy, and that's BS. I can tell you that, I've seen technology adoption over a lot of years. There are plenty of 70-year-olds that are great at adopting new technology, and there are plenty of 25-year-olds that are terrible, and vice versa.
And the way I always say it is, I've never met anyone who's unable to change. I've met a lot of people unwilling to change.
100%.
Yeah.
All right, we are going to take a quick break with another word from our sponsor, BotKeeper. And when we return, you'll get your third CPE code, and we'll have some parting comments from our panel members.
An automated bookkeeping solution from BotKeeper. Powered by a combination of artificial intelligence, machine learning, and skilled accountants, BotKeeper gets the bookkeeping done, giving Bob and his firm exactly what they need: a customizable white-labeled platform, tools and features for streamlining bookkeeping management, a single secure login to all clients' individual portals and data, built-in workflows of client activity and communication. And Bob's clients get a dedicated secure portal, a place to connect all financial and non-financial accounts, beautiful dashboards, an on-the-go invoice scanning tool, flawless transaction categorizing. Now, Bob can focus less on bookkeeping and more on growing his amazing firm. Visit botkeeper.com to get started today.
Well, hello again. I'd like to show you the third CPE code for this session, so be sure to write this down. This is your key to getting CPE for this particular session. And as we come to sort of an end of the day, an end of this session, let's just talk a little bit, just a little more about if you were going to start prioritizing some kind of automated services in your firm, AI, BotKeeper, accepting cryptocurrency, whatever you're going to do, what should it be? And I thank you, first of all, David, for mentioning sort of AP processing as sort of a starting point, because that does tee up our first session for tomorrow morning, so keep that in mind.
You're welcome.
But what else? Where do you start, and where are you going to go with it?
I would say just pull the staff. I mean, pull your team, by department. They all know where they hurt.
Okay.
They all know where the disconnects are, what's not getting done. So I mentioned a little bit earlier, what are the challenges? How's it impacting the business? And then describe what the ideal solution looks like. They won't be short on sharing. And so I'd say start there and then say, okay, now what kind of technologies are available that might help me address some of that?
Okay.
Yeah, it really is a culture of innovation and looking at examples or opportunities to improve the tools or the ways that are being used. But the most important thing I would say is it requires process change. So if we take the same process of how we've always done it and apply new tools to it, it doesn't always work the same. So, I see firms struggling with technology innovation or implementations, and a lot of it's because they're so stuck in this is how we've always done it. And
or they think that's part of their secret sauce. And I'm going, no, that's not your secret sauce.
KFC style, right?
No.
Yeah, this is my competitive value. No. It really requires looking at existing processes and reimagining them, and that's where it really goes to your point of talking to your staff, because they're the ones in the trenches. How often is it, the human in the corner who doesn't do that thing seems to think, it's seamless. It just runs smooth. And, meanwhile, those who are actually doing the work are really struggling and have all types of feedback. So look at those processes and maybe even start to just document those processes. Out of that documentation process, you'll find opportunities, one, optimize the process, and two, apply technology to it.
I would just say really, really quickly is that the tools work, right? Be it AI, be it ML, be it BotKeeper, be it Gilded, be it any of these tools, right? The actual tools work, and they've been proven to work. But the problem is, one, the people, but they aren't evil people, right? They just aren't educated, they aren't trained. Well, possibly some of them are. Yeah, but training, education, and having that open channel of dialogue, right? Because obviously, no IT project ever goes on budget 100%, right? And there are going to be, pushbacks, and there are going to be errors that happen. So having that open channel of dialogue and having that culture to encourage that feedback on an ongoing basis is the real key.
And I'll add to that, provide feedback to the vendors as well, because the vendors are going to help you. It's in their best interest to help you, and I can't tell you over the years, not just BotKeeper, where you find out at the end when the last straw has come in and you're just frustrated and you're like, why didn't you tell me about this 6 months ago? So have those conversations internally and externally.
All right, thank you. And we hope that you all are going to go away from this session with a little bit more familiarity with these catchphrases that we've been talking about and some enthusiasm for making some improvements in your practice or in the businesses of your clients. We want to thank you all for being with us today. Thanks to BotKeeper for sponsoring this session, and to all of our sponsors who've made this day possible. And we have another one coming up tomorrow with 7 more sessions, including some great surprises. So be sure to join us tomorrow at 9 a.m. Eastern Time, and we'll be with you for 7 hours. So good night.
Introducing a restricted domain exclusively for CPA firms. Securing valuable data while mitigating risk. Enhancing clients' trust with a CPA-verified digital ID. Strengthening the firm's brand with a more relevant URL. Introducing .cpa, a new level of enhanced distinction and security. Watch a video, read a position paper, or secure your domain at domains.cpa.